What if the most physically exhausting work you did today wasn't your job?
Right.
It wasn't your commute and, it wasn't running errands.
Yeah. What if it was simply the act of smiling?
Exactly. Just smiling when your entire body, deep down, desperately wanted to weep.
Wow. Yeah, if you just think about the sheer muscular and psychological effort required there.
It's massive, holding up that perfectly pleasant expression during a meeting.
Or even just while talking to a friend, when internally you feel like a building collapsing in slow motion.
It is so draining. And, well, welcome to this deep dive. Today, we are stepping into a sanctuary.
A very much needed sanctuary.
Yes. For this session, we are officially joining you on the YouTube channel, A Corner English.
Bringing you a completely dedicated daily healing English experience.
Exactly. Our mission today is kind of dual-layered for you. We are going to explore the profound psychological weight of simply being human right now.
It's heavy out there.
It really is. And we're going to do this by examining the English language, not as an academic subject, though.
No, not at all. We are looking at English as a diagnostic toolkit for your mental health.
I love that framing. It's so vital right now.
Because language dictates reality, right? The words we have access to internally, they entirely dictate how we process our external reality.
Right. If you don't have the precise vocabulary to name a particular type of pain, your brain just can't process it.
Exactly. It just sits in your body as this vague, terrifying anxiety.
So our goal today is to build a new vocabulary for your heart. And to do that, we are going to explore a theme that sounds simple on the surface.
But it's actually a radical rejection of modern cultural norms.
The theme is, it's okay not to be okay. And we are going to move at a very deliberate, very relaxed pace today.
Very relaxed. If you are arriving here with a racing mind or carrying that, that bone-deep exhaustion from a demanding week,
you don't need to perform for us. You don't need to take notes. Just let the words wash over you.
Just be here. Taking the time to sit with your feelings is the very first act of healing.
It really is. So we're going to look at how society forces us to be happy, why we need to reject that, and how to express what's actually going on inside. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
We want to start by looking at a phenomenon that drains our energy in ways we don't even realize.
Right, because we often think we are exhausted just because of negative events, right?
Like a bad day at work or financial stress.
Or relationship tension, exactly.
Yeah.
But the research points to something far more insidious.
Yeah, the massive drain on your daily energy is actually the intense societal pressure to constantly remain positive in the face of those negative events.
And this brings us to a concept known as toxic positivity.
Toxic positivity, when you place those two English words side by side, it creates this immediate cognitive dissonance.
What's fascinating here is how we are conditioned from birth to view positivity as the ultimate virtue.
Exactly. So how does something inherently good become toxic, become poisonous? That's where I want to pause and challenge this idea right out of the gate.
Please do.
Because part of my brain is resisting this a little bit. We've all been taught the whole fake it till you make it philosophy, right?
Oh, absolutely. The classic advice.
Yeah. And there are literally studies showing that the physical act of forming a smile can trick your brain. It releases feel-good hormones like endorphins and serotonin.
That's true.
We're told to look on the bright side because optimism builds resilience. So where is the line?
Right. At what point does it become harmful?
Yeah. At what exact physiological or psychological point does a helpful, optimistic trick cross over into this toxic positivity territory?
That is the perfect distinction to make, honestly, because optimism and toxic positivity are fundamentally different mechanisms in the brain.
How so?
Well, genuine optimism is the belief that things will eventually get better while still acknowledging that things are currently difficult.
Okay, that makes sense. It's grounded in reality.
Exactly. Toxic positivity, on the other hand, is the absolute denial of the difficulty.
The denial.
Right. When you talk about the fake it till you make it trick with smiling, that works for minor transient moods.
Like if you're just a little groggy on a Tuesday morning?
Precisely. Forcing a smile might give you a slight neurochemical bump. But let's look at the actual neuroscience of a severe stressor.
Like a profound loss or, chronic burnout.
Yes. When that happens, your amygdala, the fear and emotion center of the brain, it just lights up.
It sends distress signals.
It does. And if you apply toxic positivity to that state, You are essentially demanding that your brain ignore its own biological alarm system.
Wow. So it's like a fire alarm going off in a burning building.
Exactly.
And instead of grabbing a fire extinguisher, you just put on noise-canceling headphones and say, what a beautiful, quiet day.
Yes, that is exactly what it is. And what happens to the building?
It burns down.
It burns completely down. Forcing yourself to maintain a good vibes-only facade when your internal reality is in crisis, it creates a severe psychological schism.
Because your brain is fighting itself, right?
Yes, your brain is expending massive amounts of energy generating the distress signal. And at the same time, your conscious mind is expending equally massive amounts of energy trying to suppress that signal.
Just so you appear happy to the outside world.
Exactly. And that internal friction, that tug of war, is what completely depletes your daily energy reserves.
It's exhausting just thinking about it. And this shows up in our language in incredibly subtle ways, doesn't it?
It really does. It's woven into everyday conversation.
Let's look at a phrase that is universally treated as encouraging, but is actually a prime example of this toxicity. The phrase is, cheer up.
Oh, we hear it everywhere.
You look a little down, and a colleague or a family member says, hey, cheer up.
On the surface, it sounds like they're wishing you well.
Right. But when we look at the linguistic directionality of it and the psychological demand of it, it completely shifts.
The directionality is fascinating. Cheer up, feeling down. We linguistically associate happiness with an upward, floating motion.
And sadness with a downward, heavy motion.
Exactly. So when someone says cheer up in the face of genuine distress, they are not actually offering empathy.
They aren't.
No, they are issuing a command. They are demanding that you instantly change your emotional state, that you defy emotional gravity to make them or the environment more comfortable.
Oh, wow. I really want our listeners to hear that. They are demanding you change to make them comfortable.
It's true. It places the entire burden of emotional regulation onto the person who is already suffering.
And the source materials use this wonderful concept of canned comfort to describe these interactions.
Canned comfort. I love that term.
It's like reaching into the pantry for a can of soup that has been sitting there for 5 years. It's prepackaged, automatic, and requires zero emotional investment from the person giving it.
Right. Phrases like look on the bright side.
Or everything happens for a reason.
Or simply just smile. Canned comfort is dangerous because it completely lacks the vital ingredient of genuine empathy.
And empathy is hard work.
It is. Empathy requires a person to tolerate discomfort.
Yeah.
It's stepping into the dark, messy room with the person who is hurting and just sitting on the floor with them.
Right, whereas canned comfort is, standing safely outside in the brightly lit hallway.
Exactly. Standing in the hallway, slipping a generic, mass-produced greeting card under the door and quickly walking away.
And for the person sitting in the dark, receiving that card doesn't feel like love.
No, it sends a very clear, chilling message. Your true, messy feelings are not welcome in my reality.
Which brings us to our first major vocabulary word for this daily healing English session. If you're listening, just let this word settle in your mind.
We want to analyze these English words not just for their definitions, but for the psychological weight they force us to carry.
The word is mask.
Mask.
Now, in standard English, a mask is a physical object you put over your face, right?
Yeah.
Usually for a costume or for protection.
But we want to talk about the invisible masks we construct. The psychological mask of constant positivity.
Right. And what happens when we wear that invisible mask all day?
When you wear this mask, you are engaging in an act of profound self-abandonment.
Self-abandonment. That's a heavy term.
It is. You create a divide between your authentic self, the one who is tired, the one who is anxious, and the curated self you present to the world.
And the tragic irony is that this mask, which is designed to make you fit in and feel accepted, is actually the primary driver of modern loneliness.
It is the core of so much isolation.
Wait, explain the mechanics of that, because I think people might be confused. How does pretending to be happy make someone lonely, especially if that happiness makes them popular or well-liked at the office?
It's a great question. It's because the human brain is wired for authentic connection, not just proximity to other people.
Okay, so just being around people isn't enough.
Right. If you are surrounded by people who are praising your strength, praising your endless energy, praising your constant smile.
But you know deep down that the smile is a fabrication.
Exactly. Your brain registers a complete lack of connection. You feel isolated because you realize they don't love me. They love the mask.
If I take this off, they will leave.
Yes. And so you are terrified to ever take it off. Holding that mask up hour after hour requires continuous, exhausting emotional labor.
Which leads us directly to the action behind the mask. Our second daily healing English vocabulary word.
This is a crucial one.
The word is suppression.
Suppression.
Let's look at the linguistics of suppress. It comes from the Latin supprimere, sub meaning down or under, and primere meaning to press.
To press down.
To crush.
Yeah.
To hold something back by violent force. It is not a gentle word at all.
No, it is an inherently violent act against the self. And a common analogy in therapy for emotional suppression is trying to hold a giant, fully inflated beach ball underwater in a swimming pool.
I love that analogy. Let's take that further because I think people underestimate the physics of it.
Oh, absolutely. The physics are exhausting.
A beach ball is designed to be buoyant. It is filled with air. Your emotions are biologically designed to be felt and expressed. They have natural buoyancy.
They want to rise to the surface.
Right. When you practice suppression, you are using your shoulders, your core, your arms to constantly push against the physics of the water.
You can't enjoy the pool party. You can't talk to your friends easily.
All of your cognitive focus is dedicated to keeping that ball hidden beneath the surface.
And what happens physiologically when you do that all day? You develop something called an allostatic load.
Allostatic load. Break that down for us.
This is the wear and tear on your body that accumulates as an individual is exposed to repeated or chronic stress.
So it's actual physical damage.
Yes. Your blood pressure stays elevated, your cortisol levels remain high, and your immune system becomes compromised.
And eventually, inevitably, your arms get tired.
They have to.
Yeah.
You lose focus for 1 second, and the beach ball violently erupts out of the water, hitting you right in the face.
I think we've all been there. This is why people who suppress everything often have seemingly out of nowhere emotional breakdowns.
Over the smallest things, like dropping a spoon or losing their keys.
It wasn't the spoon, it was the beach ball finally escaping.
Exactly. This is why admitting you are tired is not a character flaw.
I really want our listeners to absorb this. If you're listening right now, hear this. Admitting you are utterly exhausted is not a weakness.
It is simply the necessary physical act of letting go of the beach ball. It is allowing your arms to rest.
It is the ultimate act of vulnerability and honesty. In a society that demands relentless artificial energy, choosing to admit your exhaustion is an act of profound rebellion.
It truly is a rebellion.
So, as your guides today, we want to introduce our first 2 healing sentences.
Think of these as permissions you can grant yourself.
In English, we have a grammatical structure for commands called imperatives. But we want to use imperatives today not to demand more work from you, but to demand rest.
I love that. A command to rest.
Here is the first sentence. Just listen to the structure and feel the release in the meaning. You don't have to smile all the time.
Notice the phrasing there. You don't have to. It removes the obligation entirely. Let's hear it again, softly.
You don't have to smile all the time.
And the second sentence, which is a direct imperative to stop the violence of suppression.
Stop forcing yourself to be happy.
Stop forcing yourself to be happy. Think about what happens in your nervous system when you say those words.
It feels like an exhale.
It does. You are officially resigning from the exhausting, unpaid job of emotional performance.
You are telling your brain that it is safe to just exist exactly as it is in this current imperfect moment.
You do not have to dress up your sadness in a bright outfit. You do not have to put makeup on your exhaustion.
You can just be unsmiling. And, paradoxically, that complete surrender is the very first step toward genuine peace.
It is, but that surrender is also terrifying for a lot of people.
Which transitions us perfectly. Once you stop forcing the happiness, once you actually drop the mask, you are left completely exposed.
The beach ball is just floating in the pool for everyone to see.
And for most of us, that exposure feels incredibly dangerous. How do we survive that rawness without immediately reaching for the mask again?
This is the crux of the healing process. When the mask comes off, you might realize you haven't looked at your own true emotional face in years.
Right. You might be staring at a landscape of feelings that you don't even know how to navigate, let alone articulate.
And a massive part of why we can't navigate it is because we lack the linguistic tools. We literally don't have the words.
There is a concept known as the colors of emotions. Think about a master painter's palette.
They have hundreds of subtle shades, right? Crimson, navy, ochre, lavender.
But as English speakers moving through a fast-paced modern world, our default answer when someone asks, "How are you doing?" is almost always painted in one single flat color.
A very defensive color.
Yes, I'm fine.
I'm fine. It is the psychological equivalent of painting a beautiful, complex canvas entirely beige.
Entirely beige. It covers the surface, but it reveals absolutely nothing.
It is a shield.
Let me push back slightly on that, though. Because practically speaking, if I'm at the grocery store and the cashier asks, "How are you?" I can't exactly unload my existential dread,
No, of course not. You shouldn't.
Right. I can't unpack my childhood trauma while they're scanning my apples. "I'm fine" serves a social utility, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's the oil that keeps societal gears turning.
Oh, absolutely. Context is everything. You don't owe the grocery store cashier your deepest emotional truth.
Okay, good. That would be a very long grocery trip.
It would. The danger isn't using "I'm fine" as a social pleasantry in passing. The danger is when "I'm fine" becomes your internal monologue.
Your internal monologue.
Yes. When you use it with your partner, with your best friend, and most devastatingly, when you use it with yourself.
When you are sitting alone in your car, gripping the steering wheel, crying, and you tell yourself, "I'm fine, I just need to get it together."
That right there is when the beige paint starts destroying the canvas.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. The internal monologue is where the damage happens. So if we are sitting alone in the car, what should we be doing instead of telling ourselves we are fine?
We need to practice what neuroscientists call affect labeling.
Affect labeling, or more colloquially, name it to tame it.
Name it to tame it. This is a foundational principle of psychotherapy. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it changes everything. We mentioned earlier that when you are distressed, the amygdala, the alarm bell is ringing loudly.
Right.
Brain imaging studies show that the moment you find the precise, accurate word for your internal experience, the brain's activity literally shifts.
Wait, really? Just by finding a word?
Just by naming it. The blood flow moves away from the emotional amygdala and into the prefrontal cortex.
And the prefrontal cortex is the area responsible for logic, reason, and emotional regulation.
Exactly. Naming your state literally, biologically cools down the brain.
Name it to tame it. So the mere act of finding the exact right vocabulary word is a biological intervention.
It's medicine.
If you keep calling a broken leg just a little scratch, you will never put a cast on it. You cannot heal what you refuse to name.
Exactly. And so often, because we lack the vocabulary, we misdiagnose our pain.
We call it stress when it's actually grief.
Or we call it tiredness when it's actually apathy. If you apply the wrong treatment to the wrong diagnosis, the wound only gets worse.
Let's expand our vocabulary right now then.
Yeah.
For everyone listening, let's practice naming the ghosts.
I like that. Naming the ghosts.
I want to introduce two heavy but absolutely vital English vocabulary words that perfectly describe the modern human condition. We throw these words around casually, but I want to dissect their profound linguistic and psychological imagery.
Okay, let's do it.
The first word is overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed. The etymology of this word is so striking.
The root whelm comes from Middle English, and it literally meant to turn upside down or to capsize a ship.
To capsize.
So when you add over to it, you get this profound, terrifying image of being completely submerged.
It's not just that the boat is taking on a little water. The boat is flipped.
Exactly. Think about standing in the ocean. If a small wave hits your knees, you lose your balance for a second, but you stay standing.
Right, you recover.
But when you are overwhelmed, it is a rogue wave that crashes completely over your head. You are tumbled underwater, you lose your sense of gravity, you don't know which way the surface is.
And when you are in that state, logic disappears. You are in pure survival mode. To say "I am overwhelmed" is to acknowledge that the water is above your head.
It is fundamentally different from saying, "I am busy."
Oh, totally different. Busy means your schedule is full, but your feet are on the ground.
Overwhelmed means your environment has consumed you.
Which is such an important distinction. Busy is a status. Overwhelmed is a nervous system response.
Now let's look at the second word, which is a different kind of nervous system response. The word is burned out.
Burned out. We use this as a noun, burnout, or an adjective, feeling burned out.
If overwhelmed is drowning in too much water, burned out is the complete absence of fire.
That's a great way to picture it. And I hear people use burnout as a synonym for being sleepy all the time.
Right, like, I worked a 10-hour shift, I'm burned out. But it's much deeper than that, isn't it?
Far deeper. Let's use the imagery of a campfire. A fire requires constant fuel. It needs dry wood. It needs oxygen. It needs a spark.
And in our lives, your physical energy, your passion for your work, your empathy for your family, that is the fire.
Yes. But if you keep burning that fire day after day, year after year, without ever stopping to chop more wood,
Without ever resting to replenish the fuel, what happens?
the fire consumes everything it has.
And eventually you are left with nothing but gray, cold ash.
And here's the real tragedy of how society treats burnout. Society treats burnout as a failure of willpower.
Oh, that is so true.
Your boss or even your own internal critic comes along and yells, "Cheer up, try harder, spark the fire."
But it doesn't matter how many matches you throw onto cold ash. It doesn't matter how much lighter fluid you pour onto it. Ash physically cannot burn.
Because burnout is not a failure of willpower.
It is a failure of resources.
Exactly. You cannot run a complex machine without oil forever. Recognizing that you are burned out is the necessary act of looking at the dashboard of your body and realizing the fuel gauge hasn't just hit empty. The needle has actually broken off.
Wow. The needle is broken.
Fatigue is when you are tired, but a good night's sleep cures it. Burnout is when you sleep for 12 hours and wake up just as exhausted, because sleep doesn't cure a lack of meaning or a profound deficit of resources.
That is a staggering realization. If you're feeling that deep ash right now, just know we see you.
And it brings us to the most crucial, beautiful word of this entire linguistic exploration today.
This is the word that serves as the bridge between drowning and breathing.
The word is valid.
Valid.
In everyday administrative English, a ticket is valid if it gets you onto the train. A parking pass is valid if it hasn't expired. It means legally acceptable. But psychologically, when we say an emotion is valid, what are we actually doing?
We are declaring that it has a fundamental right to exist.
To validate an emotion is to recognize that given your history, given your current stress levels, and given your environment, your emotional reaction makes absolute logical sense.
It is justified. It is real. It is valid, regardless of whether it is convenient for you.
Let's hover on that word for a second. Convenient. Because I think this is the core of our struggle.
It really is. We constantly judge our emotions based on convenience and scheduling.
We say things like, I have a massive presentation tomorrow. It is incredibly inconvenient for me to feel overwhelmed right now, so I shouldn't feel this way.
We treat emotions like uninvited guests messing up our timeline.
But validity has absolutely nothing to do with scheduling. Think of emotions like the weather.
Right. If a massive thunderstorm rolls in on the exact day you planned a beautiful outdoor wedding, that is wildly inconvenient.
It's tragic even, but the rain is valid. The rain is objectively happening.
You cannot stand in the middle of a downpour and yell at the sky, "It is inconvenient for you to rain today, so I am going to pretend I am dry."
Which is exactly what toxic positivity is. Standing in the rain, getting soaked, and screaming, "Good vibes only, it's sunny."
Yeah, just completely denying the reality of the weather.
Validating the emotion is simply standing under the awning, looking at the sky and saying, yes, it is raining.
You are not a bad person because it is raining in your mind.
You are not weak or broken or defective because you feel overwhelmed by the waves or burned out like the ash.
Your reaction is a perfectly normal, predictable human response to the abnormal amount of weight you have been asked to carry. It is valid.
It is valid.
So we want you to practice this with us. We want you to practice looking at your internal weather and naming it without judgment.
Here are our next 3 healing sentences. Use these English sentences to self-soothe.
Speak them aloud if you can, wherever you are. Let your nervous system hear the permission in your own voice. First, the foundational theme of our session. It is okay not to be okay.
Let the judgment fall away. It is okay not to be okay.
The second sentence, granting yourself reality. My feelings are valid.
My feelings are valid.
And the third sentence, practicing the immense bravery of dropping the beige paint and naming the true color.
I am feeling a bit overwhelmed today.
I am feeling a bit overwhelmed today. Reflect on the sheer courage required to look someone in the eye or to look at yourself in the mirror and honestly speak those words instead of a plastic Greg.
I'm fine.
When you name it, you drop the armor. You become
Yeah.
fully human.
You are no longer fighting a phantom in the dark. You have turned on the light and named the ghost.
You have named the ghost.
Yeah.
And, there is often a very real physical sensation that accompanies saying those words aloud for the very first time.
Oh, absolutely. The body responds immediately.
For a lot of people, the tension in the jaw just releases. The chest suddenly feels a little lighter.
Or, very often, tears immediately come to the surface because the body finally feels heard after years of suppression.
If you are feeling that right now, if tears are coming up, just let it be. It is valid.
It is simply your body saying, thank you for finally noticing me.
Which brings us to the most practical, forward-looking part of our deep dive. We have taken the journey through the dark woods.
We identified the poison of toxic positivity.
We found the courage to name the heavy, terrifying emotions like overwhelm and burnout, and we learned how to validate them.
But the natural question that arises is, now what?
Right. How do we coexist with these massive feelings without letting them completely destroy our lives? Because the goal isn't to just sit in the ash forever.
No, the goal is to transition from this crushing pressure to a place of genuine, sustainable peace.
Right. Validation is the diagnosis, but we still need a treatment plan.
We need movement, but we need movement at the correct, sustainable pace. This is where we look at actual, practical, psychological relief.
The source materials focus this final segment on actionable steps, framing them under the concept of small acts of healing.
I really appreciate the emphasis on the word small.
Let me ask you, from a therapeutic standpoint, why focus on small acts? Why not tell someone who is burned out to just quit their job, move to Bali, and completely reinvent their life?
Well, because when a person is in a state of severe burnout, their cognitive load is already maxed out.
They have no bandwidth left.
Exactly. Their executive function, the part of the brain that plans, organizes, and executes complex tasks, is depleted.
So if you tell an overwhelmed person to execute a massive life overhaul,
you are just handing a 100-pound weight to someone who is already drowning. Big acts of healing feel entirely impossible and actually induce more panic.
Small acts are the only way to build a bridge out of the overwhelm.
Yes, the smallest acts possible.
That makes perfect sense. So let's look at the smallest, most vital act possible. The very first vocabulary word in this section is a verb.
It sounds almost too basic to mention, but its biological impact is profound.
The word is breathe.
Breathe. It sounds incredibly basic. We do it autonomously from the moment we are born until the moment we die.
Right, so someone listening might roll their eyes and say, I know how to breathe. I'm doing it right now.
But are they really?
I want you to notice something about your body as you listen to my voice right now. Do a quick scan. Are your shoulders creeping up toward your ears?
Is your jaw tightly clenched?
And most importantly, how deep is your breath? When we are under chronic pressure, we develop a habit called apnea of everyday life.
We literally hold our breath while reading emails.
Or we take tiny, shallow sips of air entirely in the upper chest. We freeze, physically mimicking an animal trying not to be seen by a predator in the wild.
And let's look at the neurobiology of that freeze. When you breathe shallowly, you are mechanically signaling to your sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight center, that you are in immediate physical danger.
Your brain receives the signal shallow breath, concludes there is a predator nearby, and responds by pumping out stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline.
Which makes your heart race faster.
Which makes you feel more anxious.
Which makes your breathing even shallower. It is a terrifying closed-loop cycle of panic.
So when a therapist or an English teacher tells you to breathe, they aren't just giving you empty, poetic advice.
Not at all. They are giving you the key to a biological hack.
When you intentionally take a deep, slow breath in, expanding your diaphragm and your belly, and then let out an incredibly long, slow exhalation, you stimulate the vagus nerve.
The vagus nerve is the information highway that connects your brain to your major organs.
And when you elongate your exhale, the vagus nerve sends a powerful overriding signal to the parasympathetic nervous system.
The rest and digest center.
It literally applies the brakes to your heart rate. It tells your brain, look, we're taking slow, deep breaths. A person running from a tiger cannot breathe this slowly. Therefore, we must be safe. We can stand down.
That is fascinating. You are using your lungs to trick your brain into feeling safe.
Breathe is not just a word. It is the ultimate anchor. It pulls your mind out of the terrifying anxieties of the future, pulls it away from the heavy regrets of the past, and drops it squarely, forcefully into the present moment.
Because you can only breathe right now. You can't breathe in the past or the future.
Precisely. And once you have anchored yourself in the present with your breath, you have the clarity to protect that present moment.
Which brings us to our next crucial vocabulary word. This is a noun, and it is the absolute cornerstone of moving from pressure to peace.
The word is boundary.
Boundaries. This is a buzzword we hear all the time in pop psychology.
But let's define it clearly. Let's use an analogy to understand the architectural and psychological weight of this word. Let's imagine something different than the usual metaphors.
Okay, I'm listening.
Think of your daily energy, your time, and your emotional capacity as an airport.
An airport. Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yes, an airport. You only have so many runways. You only have so many air traffic controllers. A boundary is the security checkpoint. Setting a boundary is establishing the TSA line for your life.
Oh, I like this. I really like this.
When you don't have boundaries, your airport has no security. Anyone, a demanding boss, a toxic friend, a random email asking for a massive favor can just walk right off the street, march onto your runway, and demand that you launch their plane immediately.
And the result of that?
Total chaos, crashes, and complete operational burnout. Setting a boundary means installing the metal detectors.
It means looking at a request and saying, I see you want to fly today, but you don't have a ticket and my runways are full.
Yes. It doesn't mean you hate the passengers. It just means you are protecting the operational integrity of the airport.
And in the realm of language, learning to build that security checkpoint means mastering one very short, very difficult English word, no.
No. It's so hard to say.
It means saying no to extra projects when your capacity is full. It means saying no to a social gathering when your nervous system is begging for silence.
It means saying no to absorbing the emotional chaos of others when you're barely regulating your own.
Saying no is the physical barrier. And it's incredibly hard because we are conditioned to believe that no makes us selfish.
But no is what protects the quality of your yes.
That's a beautiful way to phrase it. But this brings up a huge paradox in healing, doesn't it?
What's it?
We finally set the boundary, we finally take a weekend off to rest, but then we ruin the rest.
Oh, yes. We demand instant recovery from ourselves.
We lay on the couch for 3 hours and think, oh, okay, I've been resting. Why aren't I 100% cured yet? Why am I still exhausted? Why do we do this?
Because the capitalist, hyper-productive culture we live in has trained us to treat our bodies and minds like smartphones.
We think we are machines. We think that if the battery is at 1%, we just need to plug ourselves into the wall, lay still for 2 hours, and we will magically beep and be at 100% again.
But we are not machines. We are biological, emotional organisms. And organisms do not recharge, they heal.
They heal. And the source text directly addresses this distinction. It unpacks the vital concept of letting go and explicitly tells us not to force ourselves to get better immediately.
Because true healing operates on biology, not productivity schedules.
You cannot command a broken tibia to knit together faster just because you have a marathon you want to run next week.
You cannot scream at a seed planted in the dirt to grow faster.
Healing is a complex cellular and emotional process that has its own sovereign timeline. When you lay on the couch and demand instant emotional recovery from burnout, you are just introducing a brand new, highly destructive form of toxic positivity.
You are stressing yourself out about the fact that you are stressed out.
Exactly. Stressed about being stressed, anxious about the speed of your healing. It's a snake eating its own tail.
Which introduces our final, incredibly liberating phrase of the day.
Healing
at your own pace.
Healing at your own pace. There is immense, almost radical therapeutic value in that phrase.
It is the conscious act of letting yourself entirely off the hook.
It acknowledges that your healing journey will not look like the textbook, and it will not look like your friend's journey.
Your timeline is utterly unique to the depth of your injury, the history of your trauma, and the safety of your current environment.
If it takes you a week to recover from a harsh word spoken by a colleague, that is your pace.
If it takes you a month or a year to recover from the burnout of your last job, that is your pace. Healing simply cannot be rushed.
You can create the optimal environment for it. You can build the boundaries. You can establish the security checkpoints. You can remember to breathe, but you cannot force the hands of the biological clock.
Giving up the illusion that you can control the timeline is what we truly mean when we say letting go.
Letting go of the timeline is the only way you find peace in the present moment.
So we have arrived at our final set of healing sentences for you to absorb. These are your mantras for the days when the pressure feels too heavy.
We will read them slowly. Let the English language wash over you like a release valve.
Here's the first one, practicing that crucial biological hack. Take a deep breath and let it go.
Notice the rhythm, the filling of the lungs, the pause, and the release. Take a deep breath and let it go.
Our second sentence, practicing the art of the boundary. I give myself permission to rest.
I give myself permission to rest. Think of it as a literal permission slip signed by you, for you.
You don't need your boss's signature. You don't need society's signature.
And the final sentence, a reminder to release the illusion of control over the timeline. Healing is not a race.
Healing is not a race. If we synthesize these three final phrases, we see the ultimate antidote to everything we discussed at the very beginning of this hour.
Giving yourself absolute permission to rest at your own unique pace without rushing to some imaginary finish line that is the absolute rejection of toxic positivity.
You are standing in your truth, looking at the world and saying, I am not okay right now. And I'm not going to force myself to magically be okay by tomorrow morning. I am just going to breathe.
That is profound, unshakable peace.
It truly is. It is laying down the heavy armor and finally just feeling the air on your skin.
Yes.
As we gently begin to wrap up this daily healing English session here on A Corner English, let's take a brief moment to look back down the long path we've walked together today.
It's been a journey.
We started by learning to spot the invisible, exhausting trap of toxic positivity. We learned that the good vibes only culture isn't actually positive at all. It's a poison that demands we ignore our own internal fire alarms.
We learned how to reject the generic, canned comfort of cheer up, and we explored the devastating physiological toll of emotional suppression and wearing the mask of constant happiness.
And from there, we stepped into the terrifying vulnerability of our raw emotions. We realized that the phrase, I'm fine, is often just a beige shield hiding a complex canvas.
We utilized the neuroscience of name it to tame it, finding the courage to accurately identify the heavy feelings.
To admit when we were feeling overwhelmed by the capsizing waves, or burned out like a fire with absolutely no fuel left to give.
And most fundamentally, we learned that whatever weather is happening inside our minds, it is valid. It has a right to exist.
And finally, we looked at how to survive those valid feelings. We established that you can't overhaul your life when you're exhausted. Healing comes in small biological acts.
Acts like remembering to breathe to calm the vagus nerve and building a boundary to manage the airport security of your energy.
We gave ourselves permission to rest, realizing that healing at our own pace means letting go of the desperate, anxious race to instantly get better.
It's a lot to take in, but it's so freeing.
I want to speak directly to you right now, wherever you are as you listen to this. Whatever emotional weight you brought with you into this deep dive today, the exhaustion, the racing anxiety, the feeling that you are just barely keeping your head above the water, it is valid.
You make sense.
You do not have to put the mask back on for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
You are allowed to be incredibly tired.
Yeah.
You are allowed to not be okay.
You have the vocabulary now, the linguistic tools to articulate your truth without judgment.
Carry these English phrases with you. Keep them in your mind like a pocket knife, ready to be deployed.
When the world demands too much of your energy or when your mind gets frantic in the middle of the night, pull one out. Whisper to yourself, my feelings are valid. Or, I give myself permission to rest. Let the language be your shelter.
Beautifully said. Before we say goodbye, we want to leave you with one final, lingering thought. Something for you to mull over as you go about the rest of your day or as you drift off to sleep tonight.
Yes. We spend so much of our lives, a staggering amount of psychological energy, trying to aggressively evict sadness, stress, and exhaustion from our minds.
We treat these feelings like unwanted intruders, fighting them at the door, trying to push them out into the cold rain.
But what if the ultimate goal of mental health isn't to build a stronger lock for the door to keep negative emotions out? What if the goal is simply to become a gracious host?
A gracious host.
What if true, lasting peace comes when you finally stop fighting the door, when you finally open it? Invite your exhaustion in, offer it a comfortable seat at the table, look it in the eye and say, I see you. You must be very tired. You are allowed to be here for as long as you need.
You are allowed to be here for as long as you need. Let that thought settle quietly in your chest. We wish you a profoundly peaceful day, a deeply restful night, and the gentle courage to heal at your own unique pace.
Thank you for joining us for this special daily healing English session.
We are signing off from A Corner English and from the Deep Dive. Take care of yourselves, and remember, it is okay not to be okay.